SnowTrax is sponsored by Ski-Doo, Yamaha revs your heart, and by FXR Racing, world-class outerwear.
I've been able to ride in the United States Midwest on a snowmobile my fair share of times, and I've never been disappointed. It's always epic riding. It's always just amazing scenery, big snow, and challenges that you don't get anywhere else. At the end of last season, I was given the opportunity to go out and ride with a fellow FXR sponsored rider who's an absolute mountain legend. This is the kind of opportunity that you don't ever say no to, because truthfully, it may be once in a lifetime. I've ridden in the western US quite a few times. There's great snow, both early and late, and just, I mean, the terrain is so varying and so epic and so good. I know that Idaho has some of the best mountain riding in the world, and I wanted to experience it. I've had the opportunity to ride with just so many professional, talented people, you know, people that we all consider to be legends of snow. When it comes to Brett Rasmussen, I had known, you know, what a great rider he is, how much of a teacher he was. To be able to ride with someone who's not just a legend and not just incredibly talented, but also a teacher and willing to help you out, that's why I was excited to go on this trip, because it was really different from all the rest.
I grew up in Preston and this southeastern Idaho area. We have great mountains, great snowmobiling. I've snowmobiled in all parts of the world, and I quite honestly can't tell you there's a better place to ride sleds than right here in southeast Idaho.
When I first met Brett, the one thing that surprised me is this guy is no spring chicken. I mean, he's a lot older than I expected, and in my mind I'm going, we got the right guy? I did not expect that. That honestly shocked me.
Today we're going to unload at the Copenhagen Basin Trailhead. We can access the snow through a trail system. We should be riding in some new fallen snow from last week with about 8 feet of snowpack today.
At his farm, it was dry, it was warm, there was no snow, but man, as we started to progress into the mountains and gain altitude, things changed. And I was blown away. I mean, snow went from absolutely nothing to, like, you know, 2.5, 3 feet off the parking lot. We pulled the sleds out, got our gear on, got ready, and we're just ready for whatever Brett was gonna show us. My first impressions of the area was that this was probably going to be pretty decent riding. I mean, very treed in, very technical, and not just big open meadows everywhere that you wanted to go, you know, sleigh. Brett, right away, he jumps on the sled and he's a transformer. He goes from, you know, your initial impression of this guy's a little bit older to being like a teenager, you know, and just going nuts. The guy shreds everything.
In the 70s and early 80s, our sleds were very limited, and we didn't get into the high country in the middle of the winter because the snow would not allow us to. In those days with the inadequate sleds, we had to learn to use them to their maximum ability, and it was the ride technique that we used that enabled us to get through tight situations and beyond.
There is one thing that stands out in my mind and will always stand out in my mind about Brett Rasmussen, and that is that this guy can slay it like nobody's business for hours on end. And I'm not talking like, you know, moderate to, you know, intermediate kind of mountain riding. This guy is on fire from when the sun comes up to when the sun goes down, and he does not get tired. When I was out riding with Brett and able to follow him on a lot of the lines, the thing I noticed is that when you're watching something and it's in slow motion, everything looks so fluid and so smooth. And following Brett, watching him, it was like I was watching in slow motion. Everything he did was fluid and it was smooth, and there was no hiccups, no errors.
What I try to instill in my students first and foremost is that they have to gain sled control and they have to be in charge of the sled. And as soon as they can learn the technique necessary to get the sled up on its edge and maintain that edge, then they're going to find out that they can attack the backcountry and go places they never thought of before.
Brett's riding style is definitely different from anybody else that I've ever ridden with. And what is unique about his riding style is that he lets the sled do all of the work. He can throw a sled around like, you know, like the Hulk. He has no problem. And it's because he doesn't use his own energy and drain himself. He makes the sled do the work.
It was a big evolution process getting to the point I am with my ability to ride in the mountains and to develop the technique that I've done. You know, I learn every day, every time I go out. I'm continuing to evolve the technique, and of course it changes with the evolution of the snowmobile and the places that people want to ride in.
One of the things that I really appreciated and that I really respected about Brett is that when we stopped during the middle of the day to get some water and some food, it wasn't just, you know, here's what I do, I'm an amazing rider, you know, let's go slay some more. It was, here's what I see about what you're doing right now that's making your riding harder on you.
So when I'm in the backcountry, everything I do, I make a big effort in setting myself up to reduce my exertion. Okay, so I'm always in energy conserve mode. If I'm in a situation right here where I want to go into a left-hand side hill, the hard way to do it, and the way that most riders will do, is they'll turn left and they'll wait till their sled leans downhill, and then they'll try to counter steer and crank it up. Okay, it takes quite a bit more effort after the sled is leaning downhill. So the easy way to do it is, bear in mind we're going left, but if I turn right and I let the sled come slightly to the right-hand side hill, the force of gravity is going to help me lean the sled over.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I think I got to train myself to do it opposite of. I'm used to the counter steer, but I'm not used to the timing and making my turn in the opposite direction a little bit first, so that the other ski soaks up and drops in. And I think that that'll help for sure, because right now that's where I'm really struggling, is getting around at the bottom of a steep hill. So
that's a good way to look at it.
It was really cool to be able to talk with Brett about the products that he uses and the sponsors that he works with. Somebody who has that type of experience in the mountains is going to know a lot about what works, what doesn't work, and really what can make the riding experience better.
When I learned what Skidoo was doing with their mountain sled, with the T-Motion suspension and the Flex Edge track, I was quite attracted to their program, and I took an opportunity to take a ride on one and was really impressed with the product and the company, and I can't say enough good about them. Sponsors
that he works with are tailored very much towards Ride Rasmussen style and what that means to him. And it's not super tall risers, and it's not, you know, all this stuff that you expect. It's very specific, very tailored to him and his riding style. I work with a number of aftermarket companies to build product that helps me on a daily basis. One of those companies that I work with is FXR Mountain. It wasn't until a few years ago when they gained the desire to build a mountain product that serves me the way I would like it to serve me. And I have to say that the product that they're building now is second to nobody. It just flat works. It's really the challenge that drives me. I don't know everything, and I like to continue to learn and improve the product and improve the ride technique. It's the challenge that drives me to get up in the morning and enter a new day. Riding in the mountains teaches me that terrain changes, snowmobiles change, and the technology that we use helps us to become better. But no matter how good the technology is, it always comes back to the person behind the throttle. When I'm out there, I'm constantly trying to better myself, I'm constantly trying to push myself, I'm constantly trying to do something that I couldn't do last year, I couldn't do the year before, I couldn't do 5 years ago. I believe that in the human race, we all need to put our arms around each other and help each other progress throughout life. You know, the reality is we're only here in this life for a short period of time, and then we move on. And any way that we can serve others is going to create a situation in our own lives where we become better people. When I can help people become a better mountain rider, that's my reward. The number one thing that I'm going to take away and what I'll remember, not just for rides to come, but for years to come, is what Brett was able to teach me. Brett was willing to point out the things I was doing wrong, give me the advice and the guidance that I needed to fix them, and make me a better rider. Riding in the mountains of Idaho with Brett Rasmussen has taught me things that I am never going to forget. It's genuinely a trip that is going to last in my mind for a lifetime.
Every once in a while in this industry, something happens that causes jaws to drop and heads to get scratched. Sometimes the results of these game-changing situations are more hype than they are substance. By now, the relationship between Arctic Cat and Yamaha is no secret. We've all had a chance to sort out all the inner workings of this unprecedented technology-sharing relationship, but the most important question is still begging to be answered. is Arctic's new ZR7000 with its Yamaha-built C-Tech 4 1049cc 3-cylinder EFI 4-stroke mill A, an impressive performer, and B, better than Arctic's last non-turbocharged 4-stroke offering? The answer to both these questions is a resounding yes. The ZR7000 series of Arctic Cats has more than impressed everyone who's ridden them. But these sleds are not just an improvement over their predecessors. In my opinion, the 7000 series sets a whole new benchmark for 4-stroke performance in the industry. This is a pretty lofty statement. There's already a number of very impressive 4-stroke performance snowmobiles on the market right now, but each one of them seems to have its own set of quirks, and I can't honestly say I would prefer them versus their own 2-stroke competition. The ZR7000 changes that. So far, we have found no quirks with this engine-chassis combination, and put up against a 2-stroke in the same class, you're not sacrificing anything to ride the 7000. The 7000 is available in a number of different variations and trim levels. The Limited is obviously the most impressive. Chassis-wise, this thing is all Procross. Its widely spaced double A-arm front suspension setup with its wild-looking ultra-tall spindles come right off Arctic's race sled. Its beautiful and shapely tipped tunnel houses Arctic's very capable slide-action skid frame, and Fox supplies shocks for the front and rear of nearly every Procross model. I say this skid is capable because it can ride extremely smooth and plush in the small stuff while still resisting bottoming on the big hits. But recently, Arctic has been missing the mark by just a hair with their shock calibration on their rear suspension setups of even their LXR model. The Limited we have here can be pounded through big bumps, eats medium-sized whoops for breakfast, but just isn't as smooth as I think it should be on small-sized studders. The LXR is better, but it's still not smooth enough. This problem could be very easily remedied with the addition of compression adjustability on the rear arm shock. With no adjustability, you're stuck with the sled exactly how it comes from the factory. In this lighter, more nimble chassis, the 1049cc electronically fuel-injected C-Tech 4 mill feels more impressive than ever. It's got a claimed and very believable 135 horsepower, and it pulls hard all the way from initial squeeze to full jam. Even when you pinch it at 40 miles an hour, a set of perfectly tuned Arctic clutches shift down quickly, and this motor pulls your head back with authority. If you were to climb on the new ZR7000 and take it for a spin without knowing what was under the hood, you'd swear its center of gravity is lower than the old 4-stroke Procross. But the fact is, it's not. The 3-cylinder 4-stroke mill in the 700 is actually mounted a bit higher than the old motor. And this brings up an interesting point. You can go ahead and argue about lightweight and low center of gravity all you want, but how a sled feels is, in my opinion, more important than its actual measurements. So the CG's a bit higher. Who cares? This is the best handling Procross I've ever ridden. It tracks straight on light snow or hardpack, it has predictable turn-in even at high speeds, it stays flat and holds its line all the way through the apex, and it doesn't require any handlebar acrobatics to keep it pointed where you want it. In 2014, Arctic's LXR package just seems a bit lacking in impressive features. Furthermore, their SnowPro package has suspension that's tuned way too stiff for 90% of the population. The LXR is supposed to be the ultra-luxury touring version, and the SnowPro is supposed to be the hardcore ditch-banging version. But this season it seems the Limited falls right in that sweet spot between the two. Yes, I get the Limited is supposed to be the primo model in the lineup, but I didn't expect it to be the seamless blend of LXR and SnowPro that it actually is. It's smooth, but aggressive, has all the fancy features of the LXR, and the high-performance looks of the SnowPro. So here's the deal. We know there will be a certain segment of the snowmobiling population that will talk down about this sled because its motor is built by Yamaha. But before you go getting all judgy, think about this. Arctic Cat has been using Suzuki motors in many of their sleds and ATVs for many years. And the truth is, Suzuki hasn't built a motor for Arctic Cat as impressive as the C-Tech 4. Yamaha is and has always been a motor company first. So let's say you're Arctic Cat and you've got this sweet high-performance chassis that's just begging for an equally high-performance motor. Why wouldn't you go out and buy the highest performance 4-stroke you can get your hands on? It was a smart move, and the ZR7000 is a home run, hands down.
SnowTrax has been sponsored by Polaris, terrain domination. Arctic Cat, share our passion. And by Go Ride Ontario, yours to discover